province. Those include a fit-to-sit policy where patients that don't need immediate care allowed to sit in hospital waiting rooms, create incentives for hospitals to meet 30-minute offload targets, and require hospitals to triage patients brought in by paramedics as a first priority. Crowder says the causes of offload delays are complicated. Windsor Regional Hospital sent out a statement today on the code blacks that read in part, Windsor Regional Hospital is continuing to experience higher than normal patient volumes, which contribute to offload delays. These challenges continue to strain our staff despite having close to 60 more acute care beds today than Windsor Regional Hospital had prior to COVID-19, as well as some 400 additional frontline clinical staff.
One of the biggest concerns that I have is we haven't even hit yet the flu season and what the COVID new wave, as they're anticipating, we're seeing numbers going up. And so that could be a real impact as well to our EMS services.
Well, you can see some ambulances behind me. There were more here earlier, and those have been sitting here for a good maybe half hour, 20 minutes. Now, a group of medical professionals, municipal officials, and fire chiefs called the Community Control Group met this afternoon to discuss ways of implementing the emergency measures and also go about asking the province for more longer-term measures to solve the offload problem. The provincial health ministry sent us a news release today saying that they do have a 4-point strategy to deal with the offload situation. It includes returning ambulances to communities faster, providing timely and appropriate care in the community, facilitating non-ambulance transportation for stable patients, and increasing healthcare worker capacity. Also, MPP Lisa Gretzky sent us a news release today calling on the Ford government to spend more money. She says that the Ford government should repeal Bill 124 and spend more money to hire and retain more nurses. She says that this money could come from the $2.1 billion in surplus the province has. Bruce Crowder says this emergency will continue until they get a handle on the code black situation. Kat?
Thanks for this, Dale. CBC's Dale Molnar live from Windsor Regional Hospital tonight. The strain on the healthcare system has experts worried ahead of flu season, as you heard there earlier. And there are also concerns about another wave of COVID-19 infections. One is already beginning in Europe. The doctor that led Ontario's now disbanded COVID-19 advisory table says mask requirements could help.
They will be effective. They will not eliminate the problem, but they will reduce the burden. I think it's really important to implement them. I've already said I think they should have been implemented. I do believe that mask requirements in crowded indoor settings, transit, schools, for example, places like shopping malls, would be effective at this point in reducing burden. They are not going to be a panacea, but they'll be part of reducing burden along with a cohesive, coherent push across the country to get people vaccinated. And I do think those two things are actually related in the sense that by re-implementing some of the requirements, for example, like masks, by prioritizing these waves as being important and a threat to the health system functioning properly over the winter, it also brings urgency towards people getting vaccinated.
Meanwhile, Windsor Regional Hospital says it is full right now and anticipating more patients. In a statement today, the hospital says both the OLET and MET campuses are beyond capacity, with dozens of patients in the emergency room. The hospital is anticipating more patients as flu season starts and with any resurgence in COVID-19 cases. A family is speaking out against a policy at Windsor Regional Hospital, one it says is keeping loved ones from spending time with its newest family member, a 1-month-old baby with a severe illness. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
Every day that she wakes up is a gift.
Debbie Shador wants to spend as much time as she can with her 1-month-old grandchild. Despite being so close, Shador and many other extended family members can't see Olivia Gagnon, who has a life-threatening condition.
It's really hard. Like, I live blocks away, yet I can't even see my granddaughter. You know, we don't know that, you know, if she goes to sleep, she's not going to wake up. We don't know if she's going to be here tomorrow or an hour from now. We just don't know. And it just seems so inhumane and cruel.
Breaks my heart. I never got to hold my granddaughter.
Olivia was born at London Health Sciences Centre last month and diagnosed with trisomy 18, also known as Edwards syndrome. The rare genetic condition causes severe developmental delays, birth defects, and organ issues. Only half of the babies born with this severe illness survive the first 6 to 9 days. It's unclear how long Olivia has to live. In London, the family said anyone could visit Olivia, but that hasn't been the case at Windsor Regional Hospital, where the family is now. Windsor Regional only allows 2 people in the neonatal intensive care unit. Exemptions can be made for babies that are dying, but right now, Olivia is not considered palliative.
We don't want people to go up there and see her on her deathbed.
We don't want it to be her dying to be able for her family to see her. Like, she should be able to see her family while she's alive.
Grandparents, great-grandparents, a half-sister, and others have lost time with Olivia. Some haven't even met her. Windsor Regional Hospital says the policy is in place to protect vulnerable babies against diseases that might be brought in, and that the neonatal intensive care unit doesn't have private rooms.
What we want to be sure of is that we're focused on that baby and the best thing for that baby. And the visitation is secondary to the care, right? So we have to keep our babies safe, we have to keep our staff safe, we have to keep our parents safe, and we have to support those babies to get them home, right? That is our priority in the hospital.
One advocate says this situation is hard as hospitals are under a lot of strain, but she says the healthcare system also needs to be empathetic.
The worst thing that can happen is that hospitals use restrictive visitor policies for their ease because they don't want to be bothered with the families. But healthcare is about providing care for the patients. And so where the policies have, veered into being too restrictive, into losing sight of compassion, we have to push back.
Olivia's family hopes speaking out will change the situation.
Not only for Olivia, but for any baby who has a terminal illness. This is ridiculous. Like, there should be something that can happen.
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
Advance voting is finished in Windsor. Just about 7% of people who can vote decided to cast an early ballot. This is nearly double the number of people who decided to advance vote in the 2018 election, but it's worth noting there were twice as many days to vote this year. The big day is next week, Monday, October 24th. 4 years ago, turnout was at 35%. Cycling, infrastructure, and safety. That's top of mind for some voters as we approach the municipal election a week from today. And I spoke with cyclists who cite close calls and tell me why candidates should care.
Eugenie, this bike path particularly goes to Howard, and then unfortunately it just stops and disappears. It'd be great if that connected to someplace and kept on going.
Nicholas Lamoureux bikes to and from work, and he loves it.
The days that I do bike in, I feel a lot better at work. I'm more productive, I'm more awake. I just feel better every day that I do end up biking in.
But it's also been dangerous at times.
I've gotten almost hit multiple times on Dougal. I've been honked at a lot. People have told me, yelled at me to get off the road, even though it's exactly where I should be.
He's not alone.
Show me where your bike is right now.
Sure, no problem. We put it in storage for the season. I'm a fair weather bike rider, so there's that, and there's also the dangers of riding in Windsor that I just put it away for the season.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Shannon Dumont says safer roads for cyclists is her top issue this election. Too many close calls forced her to put her bike away. It's part of why she's volunteering for mayoral candidate Chris Holt.
When you're driving along on your bike and then, somebody's making a left turn onto whatever it is, Gladstone or Glengarry, I think it is the one way, people will go around and they're not looking. So they're just coming around and they're passing that car that's in front of them that's turning left and not seeing that I was in the lane. And so I was at Gladstone and they just went into that lane and I was just right at the end of them. And, I could have just hit their bumper. It was so ridiculous. They just don't look at all.
So at what point did you say, okay, enough is enough?
I think after the second time that I had a close call like that, I was like, no, this is not for me, especially down Wyandotte.
I also spoke with cycling advocate Lori Newton, who says that she's been advocating for designated protected bike lanes for some time,
time, but that we're just not seeing them. She did point out these bollards here on Cabana, but says that they're not really doing enough to protect cyclists. She also says, yes, there are more white stripes like these ones here, but she says they're also not good enough. She also says that current Mayor Drew Dilkens has not been a friend to active transportation, whereas mayoral candidate Chris Holt is very supportive of addressing the issue. Here's what candidates are saying. Aaron Day told CBC in an emailed statement he'll work with the cycling community to build a cycling matrix. Matthew Giancola says he'll repair damaged roads. Chris Holt says he would immediately start working to bring separated bike lanes to certain areas. Benjamin Danilik, Louis Vapodic, Ernie Lamont, and Drew Dilkens did not respond to our request. But Dilkens did promise recently to include $2 million in the next capital plan for road safety. This associate professor in Toronto says sometimes there's a push-pull in these discussions.
Well, anything new is always controversial. We have a history of about 80 years of making streets for automobiles. When a new concept is introduced, it's supposed to create some controversy because it's basically it's a disruption of how we know streets should be. But the good news is that many cities in Canada and elsewhere in North America have made much progress, starting from where perhaps Windsor is right now.
That's progress Lamoureux hopes to see after this election.
I think that we really need to push this forward because I really don't think that there should be areas of Windsor that are inaccessible to people if they don't have a car. I don't think that that should be a barrier to enjoy this city.
With the cost of food soaring, Canada's largest grocer is freezing prices on private label food products for 3 months. It remains to be seen whether this step will be enough to appease frustrated consumers and whether other grocers will follow suit. Nisha Patel has more.
At the grocery store, shoppers are looking for relief.
I used to spend like $40 a week, and then it ended up becoming like $70 a week.
Grocery, it costs a lot for us. And frankly speaking, it jeopardizes our monthly budget.
I'm having a hard time living and keeping up with inflation. And yeah, it's a nightmare.
Now Loblaw says while it can't control the prices set by suppliers, it can set prices for its no-name food products and will freeze them until the end of January.
Food prices go up, no-name prices won't. Guaranteed.
Food bills are up almost 11% in a year, and with major grocery chains seeing profits increase, they've become a target for consumer frustration. But some experts say there's no evidence of price gouging.
The price increases that we see at the grocery store are reflecting higher costs of producing those goods and services.
This economist took a look at the numbers, and while corporate profits overall are at record highs, profit margins have held steady.
Rising profits is not a contributor to inflation. The higher profits that we're seeing are largely driven by high commodity prices and high energy, oil and gas prices in particular.
But others say companies are still coming out on top.
Corporations are doing much more than just passing on higher costs. They are taking advantage of this particular moment with all the disruptions after the pandemic to fatten their own profit margins.
So while questions over profits and prices continue, Loblaw's price freeze may cool some of the heated debate, while grocers in other countries have made similar moves. No word yet on whether Loblaw's Canadian competitors will follow suit. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
The third day of public hearings on the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act last winter heard testimony about advance warnings. Evidence presented today indicates city officials and local police were told protesters might have plans to stay in Ottawa for weeks. But City Manager Steve Kanellakis said police provided information suggesting protesters would stay for a short time only. He also made it clear how he viewed the so-called Freedom Convoy protest that paralyzed the city's downtown core.
The city has in mind some difference between a protest and event.
Yes.
And now, do protests typically have fireworks and tents? Protests? Yeah. No. Or barbecues or hot tubs? No. Or stages and dance parties? No. They sound a bit more like an event. Would you agree with me, Mr. Kanalakos, those kinds of things?
I don't agree with you on that. In the context, it was a protest where people were doing things that were illegal. That's not an event in my mind.
Protesters used their vehicles to paralyze movement in downtown Ottawa for almost a month. The Liberal government invoked the Emergencies Act on February 14th, giving police extraordinary powers to deal with the truckers and their supporters. It was revoked 9 days later. Let's take a live look outside. We've got a week of showers, and Josiah will be here after the break with more. Plus, we're going to talk about the Detroit Marathon. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, before we bring in Josiah, I do just want to let you all know that we do stream our show on CBC.ca and CBC Gem nightly, but we are having some technical issues right now, and we are working to get that fixed. And with that, now we are back now with Josiah. I can bring you back, Josiah Sinanen.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Kat. Now, viewers are probably noticing there's something different about your outfit.
Possibly.
What's going on?
I'm that person. I'm going to brag about the fact that I did a thing. And I ran the Detroit Half Marathon over the weekend.
Congratulations. And how was it?
I'm so proud of myself. It was amazing. It was honestly one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Wow.
Getting to go on the bridge, getting to go through the tunnel, it just felt like such a special experience. Look at that. We have some images here.
Cool.
And that there is from Carrie Breen, and it's really worth noting that it was a group of us from CBC that did this. Carrie Breen did it, Sonia Varma did it.
There you are.
Our former producer, Simon Rice, captured that for us. Jacob Barker, Rob Evans, who's our switcher director. Jen LaGrassa. It was honestly such a cool experience, and it even makes me ponder whether I should do it another time.
I think you should, Kat. I think you should. And my favorite of those pictures there is Jacob with the shark. I'm not sure the context, but that looks like a great time.
I think it's a classic. They were on the bridge. It was so funny because, like, how did these sharks end up on the bridge? I don't know. Maybe they were volunteers, but they brought a lot of motivating joy to us all.
I see that in my future too, Kat. It looks like I'll either be a shark or I'll be running with you guys next year. It looks like an amazing time. And the weather was good for you.
Yes, absolutely. And I understand that you talked about this on Afternoon Drive as well, right?
Yeah, I did. We actually had a guest today, and it was Jeremy Carbonero. He is from LaSalle. There's a picture of him right there. He actually had the best record for a Canadian at the end of the marathon. So we spoke to him today live. And he was also telling the story of his friends, Matt and Blair Gervais, also from Essex County. Check this out, beautiful couple. They both hit new records. Matt won the Masters Division and 14th overall male, and Blair was 8th overall female in the half marathon. So they shared this special moment. And they said, you know, this is, all three of them were saying that this is such a special event because it's really taking place at home. So really great to see that back, and great weather for everyone.
Absolutely, and this is a good time to give us our forecast,
let's
Josiah.
jump into that 5-day
do it.
forecast. It's obviously chilly today as we've experienced, and that rain will continue. We're looking at around 6 degrees all day. That's staying consistent throughout the evening with ongoing showers. And Kat, that chance of flurries has been removed from the forecast tonight, which is great. But rain, rain, rain coming ahead. Tomorrow stays rainy, high of 8. Wednesday, we're currently seeing the same with those showers persisting. And Thursday, high of 10. And that's our last day of showers. Looking at Friday, we'll hit a high of 16 and sunny, which will be a nice welcome to a warmer weekend ahead and some well-deserved recovery time for you, Kat.
I'm going to milk that. I'm going to be recovering all week long, everybody. Okay.
Enjoy the cozy weather.
Thanks for that, Josiah.
Thank you, Kat.
Stay with us. More news when we come back.
Yay.
Welcome back. An attraction at the Edmonton Valley Zoo has a new lease on life. Volunteers spent 5 years and thousands of hours restoring the zoo's 63-year-old children's carousel. The carousel is one of 2 of its type operating in the whole world. And besides being fun, it's meant to educate future generations while supporting endangered species. Let's take a ride.
It was the original children's carousel here in 1959, and it has been operated every year up until COVID. And the site keepers would take it apart in the winter and put it away and bring it out in the summer, and it operated outside. So it was bought for the opening of the zoo.
Now, this project has started almost 10 years ago with the initial designs. So we've had designers, carvers, various technical people involved. Sanders are the unsung heroes. They make the carvers and the painters look good. But we've had over 60 volunteers who've worked over that period of time, and I've lost count, but it's well over 25,000 volunteer hours.
Yeah. It's perfect for this age as well, which is why it was so exciting for them. Yeah. They love a carousel, hence why they're riding it multiple times.
And all the animals, it's so cool.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this entire project is that the carousel was originally a donation. It had been for 60 years. Now, people will make a donation, and that money is going to save the animals that we teach the children about here. So the Edmonton Valley Zoo has a conservation fund, and we work on a lot of different projects, both in situ and ex situ, which means here at the zoo and out where the animals live. And those projects include things like northern leopard frogs, but they also include our exotic animals that call the animal home, like the red pandas through the Red Panda Network and the Lemur Foundation. So we'll be able to earn a lot more money to help those. Children come here, they're going to get to ride on a replica of an exotic animal. They're hopefully going to learn about them, and then they're going to help us save them. I can't imagine anything more exciting or a way to honor all the work that was into this project.
That's so cool. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can also find us on social media as well, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.